We are live on Facebook and Instagram. Hey, family. So excited to be here with you today. Well, let's get started. I'm Coach Natalie, for those of you who I don't know. And we have been talking about getting unstuck from three areas that we get stuck in life. One is our emotions. We get stuck in our emotions. We get stuck in expectations, and we get stuck in our experiences. No matter who we are, whether male, female, old, young, professional, stay at home, it doesn't matter. We get stuck in these three areas of our lives. And for the last 2 weeks, I've been going live talking about what do we do and how do we get unstuck. And last week, we talked about getting unstuck from our emotions and how we are emotional creatures and we get stuck in our head and our feelings when we get offended or hurt. We don't know how to keep moving forward. And what I talked about was about mastering our emotions, that we've been on planet Earth at least darn near 50 years plus, that we need to learn how to master our emotions so that they don't master us. In other words, that we take charge of our emotions versus allowing our emotions to take charge of us. And I heard a lot of feedback from y'all. Thank you for the DMs and the text messages. I appreciate it. That it was helpful because we want to be more proactive when it comes to our emotions versus being reactive. So today, let's continue the conversation and getting unstuck in our expectations. Hey, Kim, I'm waving at you. Let me wave at you. So glad that you're here. So let's talk about getting unstuck from our expectations, breaking free from them. And this is a good one because expectations are really a sticking point for many of us because we get stuck in it and we don't know how to move forward. So here's the question. If you have you ever felt trapped by a weight of others' expectations or even your own expectations? And so, if you've ever felt the weight of that, say, yes, I felt the weight of that, and you'll want to continue watching because I'm going to share with you that there's a way to break free from your expectations and the expectations of other people. So, I'm going to share with you a suggestion on how you can do this and then a strategy to show you how to apply it to your life so that you can be set free. And so, why is this important? It's important because expectations get in the way. They do, they get in the way, they limit us, they hold us back because when things don't happen the way we want them to, what do? We end up getting disappointed. Kim, you're like, yes, you felt the weight of them. Great. You're in the right spot. And me too. So we're kindred spirits. And that's why I'm talking about it because I understand what it's like to be weighed down by expectations, yours and other people's. But the problem is that we allow the expectations to again take charge, just like we do our emotions, versus us taking charge of our expectations. And so, what are expectations? Let's start right there. Expectations are a strong belief or an assumption about what is likely to happen in the future. And you know, I got my notes, I always have my notes. It's a strong belief or an assumption about something that we believe will happen in the future. And it involves anticipating outcomes or behaviors based on our past experiences, based on the current information that we have. And here's the thing, our personal standards, what we want to happen. This is what we're basing our expectations on. And this is the problem right off the rip. And this is how we get stuck. Because if we're basing our expectations on past experiences, that's an issue because we may not have had a good past experience. So now we're expecting something to happen that something different to happen because of what happened before, if that makes sense to you. And we're expecting it based on faulty experiences or faulty outcomes from the past. And that can cause us to really get stuck. It's like having extra baggage that we're bringing to the situation. And we're thinking, well, because that happened before, it's going to happen now. So my expectations are not good versus having a more empowered way of approaching our current situations. And then that goes to our current situations. We have limited information, right? We can't see into the future. We are not God. We don't have that power. So whatever information we have, it's limited. And it's mostly from our perspective because we may be closed to other people's perspective. So that limits our expectations and our limits our information even more. And then our personal standards. This is it right here, right? I think things should happen the way I want them to happen. I'm the expert. I know what I want, when I want it, and how I want it. And so I expect people to show up and circumstances to unfold the way that I expect it. And that right there can cause us to get stuck and having unrealistic and unfair expectations. And this is the thing, when we have unfair and unrealistic expectations of ourselves and of others, we always end up disappointed. And disappointment always leads to doubt. And doubt and disappointment together leads to discouragement. And now we're giving up on our dreams, we're giving up on our aspirations, we're not even trying to achieve our goals, right? Because we started off with the wrong expectations. And that's what's weighing us down. And so I recently came across a definition of love because last week I said I was going to tie expectations and love together. So here's what I wanted to say. The definition of love that really just shifted my interaction with my loved ones ties along with these expectations. The definition of love is setting people free from your expectations. Love is setting people free from your expectations. Because here's the problem with expectations. I expect you to behave a particular way, and when you don't, I'm disappointed. I expect you to show up in a way that I may not even be showing up, but I expect you to show up in a particular way. And when you don't, I'm looking at you like side eye, like what's going on, right? But love, if I truly love you and I want the best for you, then I need to set you free from my expectations of how you should live your life, how you should think, or how you should show up. That was powerful. And when I came across that definition, for the life of me, I don't remember where because I read so much, I was like, this is the problem with many relationships, our expectations. And I had to look in the mirror and say, Natalie, you got a problem thinking that life should happen the way that you want it to, but it doesn't always do that. And I do end up disappointed. And it's just like not in just personal relationships, but achieving a new goal. Maybe it's the goal of starting a business, like expanding my coaching business. And I think it should happen when I want it to. And the client should just be knocking down at the door, lined up. And it doesn't always happen that way. And then you want to give up. That's the problem. And so I just wanted to share that with you about the definition of love. And I hope it resonates with you because maybe you need to set some people free in your life. And maybe you need to set yourself free because maybe you've had some unfair and unrealistic expectations of yourself. And maybe it's that perfection syndrome that comes up, or maybe it's that imposter syndrome, all those syndromes that we take a hold of that we don't have to. Maybe it's time for us to be set free. So the problem with expectations is that we believe that a thing should happen the way we think it should happen, period. And we don't allow for room for anything else to happen beyond that. And this causes us to have what I call rigid expectations. And rigid expectations are always unfair and always unrealistic. And they can be problematic because things don't happen like we wanted to, and we don't have room to change, right? And this mindset sets us up for disappointment and frustration. And here are three areas where rigid expectations can really be detrimental in our lives. One, it can strain our relationships, going back to that definition of love. You see, in both business and personal relationships, expecting others to meet our specific standard without flexibility can lead to misunderstanding, hurt feelings, and now we're stuck in our emotions. And now we are, going in a different direction than what we anticipated because we are caught up in our feelings and things aren't happening the way that we want them to. Another thing about rigid expectations is that it causes us to miss opportunities. Why? Because the opportunity wasn't packaged the way that we wanted it to be or the way that we thought it should be. And so we miss that this could be the door that you've been wanting to open, or this could be the answer to your prayer. But because it didn't present itself the way that you thought it should, you missed the opportunity. This is because that we've got some rigid expectations. And then finally, rigid expectations cause us to have more stress than's necessary. You see, when our outcomes don't match our expectations, it can lead to frustration, disappointment, stress, and here's a big word, dissatisfaction. And when we're dissatisfied with our lives, we're giving up. But there's always hope. There's always hope. And I like to say this, as long as you are alive and breathing, there is hope and you can get unstuck. You see, you don't have to stay stuck in your rigid expectations. You don't have to stay stuck weighed down from unrealistic and unfair expectations. You are alive and breathing. So there is hope. And that means you have the power to get unstuck. And I really need you to embrace that. Because, see, all change happens with one, honesty. We got to be honest with ourselves of where we are. But then it happens with belief. You have to believe that it's possible to change. You have to believe that it's possible to get from under the weight of unrealistic expectations, because then and only then can you start to get unstuck. And so here's the suggestion that I have for you. How do you move from having rigid expectations, getting up from under the unfair and unrealistic expectations? How do you move to become more flexible? So instead of rigid expectations, I like to think of fluid expectations, meaning that you aren't rigid and stuck. You're actually flexible and open. And you're going with the flow instead of digging your heels in, causing yourself to have some increased stress and frustration. Hey, Wallace. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry I got distracted. Wallace, love you. Love you. Hey, Michael. Thank you so much. Good to see you. You're rocking. So glad to have y'all join me. And so we're talking about these rigid expectations that cause us to get stuck, and how do we set ourselves free? And my suggestion is that we move from rigid expectations to becoming having fluid expectations where we are adapting, we're being open, and we're willing to pivot to get to our desired outcome. Because expectations really is about us getting a desired outcome, achieving a result. But if we're rigid, we won't get the result because we're going to give up, because it's going to be hard. But when we're fluid, we're open, we're flexible, and we can pivot so that we can get to our desired outcomes. And so it allows us to have a more proactive approach rather than a reactive approach. Because sometimes we get reactive and we go off, right? Because we get stuck in our emotions. Things don't happen the way that we wanted to. So we think it's somebody else's fault without us looking to say that, hey, maybe I need to adjust, and maybe I need to change, and maybe I need to be open to something different so that I can still get to my desired outcome. So that's my suggestion, going from rigid to having fluid expectations. But how do we do this? And that's why I want to talk to you about the strategy. And I call this strategy free. Let's just get set free. Let's break free from rigid expectations so that we can start having fluid expectations. And how do we do this? It's the acronym FREE. And FREE stands for F is be flexible in your approach. R is have realistic expectations. E is emphasize the effort. And the final E is evolve and adjust. So let me break this down, because once you understand it, you can be set free. And who doesn't want to be free, right? Free from other people's expectations, or free from your own rigid, unrealistic, and unfair expectations. So here it is. Free captures the essence of being open and adaptable. So free, flexible, meaning that it doesn't have to happen your way. That when you get new information, you are open to changing the direction. You're open to doing something different. And R is that realistic expectation. Maybe your goal is good, but your expectation, your timeline is not. So maybe you need to adjust the timeline. Maybe you need to have more realistic, because it takes time to produce something good, right? It takes time to change a habit. It takes time to build healthy relationships, and it takes time to lose weight. And so we have to have expectations that are realistic so that we don't get disappointed. And then emphasizing the effort. We have to celebrate the success that we have. We have to celebrate the effort. We may not have achieved the goal yet, but we need to celebrate along the way so that we can be encouraged and empowered. And so we have to emphasize the effort, not always focusing on the outcome, because the outcome may not be exactly what we want, but look at the effort that you put in. Look at the progress that you've made and celebrate that, because that can set you free right there. Instead of being weighed down, you're actually celebrating your progress, which empowers you to keep moving forward. And then the final E, evolve and adjust. You always have to reflect on the progress that you've made and say, do I need to keep down this path, or do I need to do something different? Do I need to course correct so that I get to my desired outcome? What are the lessons that I've learned? So now I evolve in what I think I need to do, and now I start taking different action, which will help me to get to that desired outcome. So you see, when you're set free and you use the free strategy, you can be flexible, adaptable, and open to getting that desired result without being rigid, digging your heels in and saying it has to happen when you want it, how you want it, and people need to show up exactly how you think they should. No, that sets us up for failure. And when we are feeling like we're failing, we're stuck, but we want to get unstuck, be set free, and become unstoppable in achieving our goals, our aspirations, and our dreams. So, let me share with you really quickly how this looks in a real life example, just so that you get it in your head. What does free mean? And I want to use the example of losing weight. That's like a universal goal that most of us want to lose weight, get back to our younger, skinnier version, or just get healthier and sexier. So let's use that as a goal of how of losing weight and how to use the free strategy. So for example, if you want to lose weight, the F stands for being flexible. So this is being open to trying different ways or different exercises, diets to help you lose weight. Just because you tried one a year ago and it didn't work doesn't mean that you can't be open and flexible to trying a different way, right? Because if you're rigid, you're digging your heels in and saying that it just doesn't work and you're just going to stay overweight. But if you're flexible and open, you're going to start researching and exploring other options, right? And so then the R, realistic expectation. Set achievable weight loss goals. So if you are 30 pounds overweight, don't set the goal of losing 30 pounds in 30 days, right? That may happen, but is that sustainable? And is that going to be an enjoyable experience? No. So you need to set a realistic goal for you, like losing maybe 1 to 2 pounds a week. That can be sustainable for you, right? And so realistic expectations set you up for success. And that's what we all want to feel successful. Like, who doesn't want to feel successful? We all want that. But when we have unrealistic and unfair expectations, we set ourselves up for failure. And so then emphasizing effort in your weight loss journey, focus on consistent actions like regular workouts, going for a walk every day, and emphasizing the effort and celebrating that, yay, today you went for a walk versus sitting on the couch and watching your favorite show on Netflix, right? Got to celebrate. I really want to stress that, because sometimes we get so bogged down with what didn't happen and we miss all the good that did happen. We miss all the progress that we made. So we want to emphasize the effort that is going to get you to the outcome you desire. And then finally, evolving and adjusting. So regularly reviewing your progress, tracking it, seeing where you need to change direction, seeing where you can do things differently because you learned something last week, and you just continue to build that momentum. So that's the example of how you use the free strategy to break free from unrealistic, unfair, and rigid expectations. Leon, oh, so glad to have you. Tremendous insight. Thanks for sharing. No, you are amazing. Thank you for that encouragement. So I hope that this helped you, and you can see how the free strategy, and I use it faithfully because I have some rigid expectations. I'm just being real, right? And I've had to break free. So I'm sharing with you something that I use something that I know that works. And you can actually plug and play this strategy in any area of your life. So I just use the example of losing weight because that's something that's universal, but it can be about saving money. It can be about getting that job promotion. It could be about starting your business, writing your book. We all have areas of our lives when we probably have rigid, unfair, unrealistic expectations. And this strategy can set you free, like literally set you free. So I hope this helps you. I hope it blesses you. And if you're ready to break free from limiting expectations and unlock your potential, I do have an opportunity for you. You can join my Hello Goal Achievement membership. I'm so happy that we started it. We've had it for about 3 months now. And so we are excited that it's continuing to grow and would love to have you consider joining our Hello Goal Achievement membership. I put the link in the description on Facebook. I will put it on Instagram. If you are serious about setting yourself free from unrealistic expectations and achieving your goals and your dreams, then here's an opportunity that you may want to consider. But I am so grateful to have had this time. Next week, I will be here live again, and we're talking about how to get unstuck from past experiences. Woo! You know, those things that we wish didn't happen, those things that weigh us down and make us feel guilty and have some regret. We got to get unstuck from those things because they don't help us to move forward and they're not helping us to achieve our goals. In fact, they're weighing us down more so than our unrealistic, unfair, and rigid expectations. So I hope you will join me next Tuesday when we're live and we're talking about going from being stuck to unstuck and gaining that momentum and becoming unstoppable in achieving our goals, our aspirations, and our dreams. So thank you so much for being here. I hope it blessed you. I'll see you next time. Bye, Michael. Bye, Wallace. Bye, Leon. So glad y'all joined me.